This is the Grassroots Education and Entertainment Network, your number one source of information, education, and entertainment. For honest, responsible, and dependable information, we stand supreme. To stay focused, inspired, and relaxed, choose green.
We would like to welcome all our viewers to today's show, and we would like to begin in the usual manner of reading the essay IFAs for today, and we would start off by reading Ogunda Oturapon. All right.
Sure.
Ogunda sent prosperity to the house of Oturapon, cast for the people of Ife Oye, on the day that they were worried about their prosperity. They said that a year of riches had arrived, a year of prosperity, a year of giving life to many children. All right, and then of course the Herbal is listed that was recommended, which I will not read. So viewers, today I would like to introduce you to the host of our program, Coach Ianti, PhD.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Baba. It's a pleasure to be back. I'm sorry for being delayed this afternoon. It is just one of those super mom moments. As you know, we may expect this happens sometimes. So I would like to welcome our viewers back to the program, and we thank you for, connecting and joining with us every Sunday. For this particular segment today, we would like to encourage you to call in towards the end of the discussion so that you could also share your insight. And Baba, if you could put a phone number on the screen so that they may call in and also share onto their own knowledge. So our mission in this discussion is really to promote the traditional uses of the different Caribbean pharmacopoeia for holistic healthcare, but also for well-being. Once we decide to change our life and to have this holistic work, we tend to plug in into what we see on TV and what we see happen on social media. So we tend to want to take everything that is out there, and we tend to dismiss what is right here, what we have available, and what has been done before by our elders. When you take the time to analyze what the elders did before, it was very much of a holistic lifestyle, and they lived a whole lot longer than us. So what we're going to start with this afternoon, and I'm glad that you started by the oral version of this book from Muhammad Ali. And we're going to start with the adage: just as food is our source of life, it is also our source of death. So that's something that elders used to speak very often, especially when they would want to warn us about the way we eat. Did anybody ever warn you about the way you eat, Baba?
Well, I think my mom used to tell me, boy, you're eating too much. That's the only warning I ever used to get. Other than that, the old timers used to prepare us pretty good meals, pretty good Creole food.
Mm-hmm.
So outside of that, maybe the abuse of snacks and stuff like that used to come with really stern reprimands. Especially during mango season. So as a child, that's all, once it's in season, that's all you want to eat.
Listen, Baba, I was born in France, but one sure thing, when we relocated to the Caribbean, I did learn how to climb a mango tree because I agree with you, mango season was the best, and I didn't want any hand-on mangoes. So the only tree I ever climbed in my life was a mango tree. Ask me to do it today, and that's another story, but that's for the memories. And that particular time that we cherish, in our childhood. Well, when I was growing up, we didn't have an excess of snack because my mother is a nurse, was a nurse. So therefore, she was very much, she would control how much we eat. However, we were not eating enough natural food. A lot of the food that we ate was very much processed, and there was no bad effect on my brothers, for example. until they became teenagers. When they became teenagers, the acne was like, oh my goodness, you would swear those people came from a different planet. It's like there was no spot left without any breakout. And
Okay.
we never realized neither that it was due to the food that we ate. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
On my end, it was not so much the acne when I was a teenager. It became a problem with my cycle. So I had terrible cycle. I had terrible digestion. I had chronic constipation. And those problems began from, being maybe 14, 15 years old. And around that time, you realize that something is wrong with you. But really, you do not address the source. And according to the society, the circle in which you live, it might take a while before you realize that if you change the way you eat, you may have a different outcome and your body gonna start functioning a whole lot better. So what happens sometimes is that when we overlook those time, during that particular time of adolescence, we begin our life as adults with an existing imbalance. We get into the workforce with the imbalance, and once we are into the workforce, we go to university, we go to college, we party, we have fun, we fall in love, we make children. We don't have time. It's only when something starts to break down, usually around midlife, somewhere around the 40s, although for some the interruptions start a whole lot earlier. We then realize when we have this kind of health threat or life threat that we have to make better choices. However, we do have the habit of eating a lot in the Caribbean. We have the tradition of the potluck. Everybody brings in something and we want to taste a little bit of everything. However, what we also have in the Caribbean are, those super plants that um, we would be told as, growing up that you cannot have you cannot have a Caribbean household without a particular plant. So some other plants that we are going to talk about this afternoon, and this is why I would like to invite, some of the viewers to share in with us as well, because according to what island you may be watching us from, or where maybe your parents were located, maybe you call the plant in a different name, or maybe there were different uses for that plant. So we would like you to, come call in and share with us, because it's about sharing and it's about empowering others, to make use of what we have. Because too often we look at what's out there and we do not value what is our own. So one that's very simple that we think about all the time is aloe vera. And in this side of the Caribbean, we like to say aloes for short. So we tend to look down on the aloes because we have it growing all over the place. It's only when you step out of the Caribbean and you realize the price of one little tiny aloe plant, you realize, oh my God, and we have this growing all around the place. Sometimes we don't even take care of it. We decide that, we want the spot. We just root out all the aloes, we get rid of it, and we don't understand the value. So what did our ancestors use the aloe for? Very often to clean the liver, because we all know that whenever probably you overeat, you want to drink something bitter for a few days. All right, to help your digestion, to maybe like strip the liver of the excess sugar or the excess grease from the food. So we have it in the culture to eat aloes. I used to watch my stepmother just cut aloes and cut the gel and just grab the pieces, and used to hold my head and like, I wonder if I'll ever be able to do that. I can't hear you, Baba. Are you saying anything?
Yes. Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, what I
Um,
was saying is when you peel off all the green particles off of the aloe
mhm.
and you have the plain gel, it has really not much teeth. So you could do that.
Exactly. Once you rinse it, you can do it. It's just that back in the days, not every time we used to rinse it. Okay, there are still some people who feel like they don't want to lose anything from the aloes and just have it any and anyhow, and it is extremely bitter. And sometimes they also develop allergic reactions. So it's not just about using the herbs, it's also about knowing how to use it so that you would minimize the allergic reaction to your system, bearing in mind that If you already have imbalances within, what worked for somebody may not have the same effect on your own body. Maybe the aloes mightn't be for you, maybe it is something else, maybe it is good for you externally but not internally. That's why it is always good, beside the general knowledge of the plant, refer to somebody who has invested enough time to study, understand how the herbs work on the body. Okay. And as I always say, it may not necessarily be somebody who come with a big title. Remember, in the research that I do, I find that many Western people have invested a lot of time into researching the plants of the Caribbean and how it can impact our body. And sometimes we don't want to listen to somebody who probably have the knowledge of the ancestors, but we want to listen to somebody who come with a title. I would like to remind you guys that our ancestors didn't come with any title, but Baba, Iya, Granny, and Auntie, and yet they were very wise people. So it is good, to also listen to what they say, not only because someone has gone to school. Remember that an education is only limited to a curriculum,
Well,
and not
yeah,
even
on
sure.
that note, I just want to interrupt you here. Most of the people
Mhm,
who gave me thorough information on
mhm,
herbs were not lettered individuals. I can remember the very first person who used to teach me.
mhm.
This gentleman name was Mr. Boucard or
Okay.
Mr. Bucco. That's how everybody in the village know this man.
Okay.
I used to spend every Saturday the
Mhm.
entire day with this old man. All right,
Okay.
he was a very simple, common guy, no, but he was well known in the community for
Mhm.
making his herbal preparations.
Super.
And then not only him, but most of the other elders who I've interviewed and who have collected lots and lots of formulation for are very simple, common people. Many of them, their mothers, aunts, and grandmothers used to be what we would call these women who delivered children in their community,
The midwives.
the midwives, correct.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
now you have all kind of fancy name,
Doulas.
Julia, right, Dula, and all these different names that
Mhm.
they use. But in the
Yes.
traditional time, they were just known by the name that you just gave. Because at the
Yes.
times, hospitals were not always there.
Mhm.
And a lot of people before my time were actually born at home. The
Definitely.
midwives were the ones who would come and deliver the babies.
Mhm.
But through the midwives, many of the persons who maintained the tradition of herbal knowledge were
Mhm.
via information that they were given from the midwives.
Definitely. Definitely.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yes.
Aloe vera is commonly called aloe vera or aloes. The
Yes.
only island I think have a totally different name for it is Jamaica. They call it the Cinco Bible.
Uh-uh. That's new to me.
Yeah, yeah, they call it Cinco
That's
Bible
why I
in
want people
Jamaica.
to call and come sharing with us. I didn't know because my Jamaican friends here in St. Martin, they also call it aloes. So therefore, I would not have known that, but I'm glad to have learned something this afternoon.
Yeah.
So it is definitely used as a laxative, but also as anti-inflammatory gel. So if you have a wound, you have a cut, you may have bruised yourself. We use it on the skin as opposed to maybe using whatever you use from the pharmacy. The aloe vera is going to do a great work also at disinfecting the wound, but also helping to heal it faster. We also use it on the skin, to prevent sunburn or to tame a sunburn, or maybe whatever skin infection, fungus people may have. Aloe vera is also something that we use traditionally. Traditionally, we use it also in the hair. All right. So back in the days, we used to use like basic stuff for our hair before the Vaseline and all those other. Let me see if I remember some name. Black and Beautiful or whatever the name was. What was it? I can't even remember. And nowadays it is what's the name of the thing? I can't remember what my daughter buys. It's like my daughter would go and buy a particular product containing shea butter, containing maybe like 5% shea butter, will cost three
Okay.
times the price of the natural shea butter. But it is the trend that once you use that particular brand, it's good for your hair and your hair is gonna grow. And it is full of added chemical. And
Wow.
sometimes I'm like, why can't you just buy the real thing? But what we watch on TV really influences our mind. It really does
Okay.
influence our mind.
Definitely.
Yes. So, well, this is what for aloe vera. You can also use it maybe if you have a slow digestion. And for people who are practicing intermittent fasting, you may want to add some aloe vera in your water as well, because this is one of the greatest way of alkalizing your water, and also being able to drink water full of minerals and vitamins while you are cleansing and while you are not eating food. So that's a great way. And for the ladies who would like to avoid the wrinkles a little too soon, then feel free to use a lot of aloe vera gel on your skin. And by this, I mean the aloe vera from the plant that you cut, use like not this green thing that they sell in the supermarket for $2 or $3. We're talking about the real aloe vera. If you choose anything else,
It's on you. But
exactly.
there are a few very, very common uses that we have here in Trinidad. Whenever people get into auto accidents and they have broken bones, or they have, I think what some people let's call it bless, when you get a hard lash where you have scarring of the tissue.
Okay.
One of the traditional formulas for those type of situations is
Mhm.
you use aloe vera and egg white
Okay.
for maybe like about a week. And what that does is it breaks up all the blood clotting and all of that in your body, due
All
to
right.
being, yeah, the blow that would
Mm-hmm.
cause,
Yeah, bad one, yeah.
right, cut off circulation. That's one of the most common use we have in the Caribbean. Other
Okay.
than that, the aloe vera plant is used to treat many forms of cancer here in Trinidad also,
Mm-hmm.
together with other ingredients such as charcoal and other things.
Good.
Other than that, just as you identified, is
Mm-hmm.
also used as a topical for many type of different skin problems also.
Also for the hair, because the aloe vera and the egg white, we will blend that and put it in our hair, definitely get it softer,
Okay.
you know. But definitely, according to the tradition, according to the folklore of the island, we are going to have many uses for the same plant or for the same blend.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, I want to speak about another one this afternoon that's maybe not very popular, is the calabash. So there are many names for the calabash. I'm trying to remember a few of them, but I don't really have them. But for me, I see calabash.
No, but Calabash is a kind of technical one, and let me tell you why I say this, right?
Mm-hmm,
I am not sure when you say calabash,
mm-hmm.
which family of this plant you are speaking of. The one we have commonly in Trinidad is the Crescentia cojote, I think it is,
This one,
right?
because we call it also kojo leaf.
Right, but
Yes.
there is also a range of from the from a family of plants that is used in Africa that
Mm-hmm.
they refer to as gourds, and
Okay.
also in North America too, right?
Oh,
I think it's
really?
from
The
the
calabash grows in
Borgonicea
North
family.
America, but that's new to me also.
Yeah, so even in saying calabash for the Creoles in the area here,
Mhm.
we speaking about the Crescentia cojote. That is the one we speaking of in particular.
I'm looking to see if I have a calabash close by, but no, none right now close to me. So another time, I probably would have one to show. We're talking about this one with this huge fruit where, you cut it, you dry you remove all the pulp, and there's a way of treating the skin so that you harden and become the bowls that we use. I know that
Yes.
some of my friends in Africa have some huge calabashes, and you could
Right.
put a baby to sit in it and take a proper bush bath instead of a calabash. I mean, I just wish I could get my hand on a few of those. And it is true that we overlook the use of that tree. Very often, we only think about it for the fruit, and we'll be cooking the fruit to have it to be able to, get some bowls, get some cups. I know that some people use the fruit also to create bags at the bottom of a bag. You can be very creative. However, almost every part of that tree can be used also for healing. So, for example, the leaves, we use them for to treat high blood pressure, for example. So you drink a tea. You know already what I mean when I speak about tea, not just flavored water. You mean a strong omiro, where you know that all the essence of the leaf has transferred into the water. You could smell it, you could see it, and you have a cup of tea. So we use that a lot to reduce high blood pressure, but not just the high blood pressure. Technically, since it's going to relax your nerve, we also drink these when we have bruises, like the bad blow you were talking about. We drink that as well, and also for menstrual cramps. So that's on the islands around here. It's also used for asthma, for people who have issue, have difficulty breathing. So those are the stuff that we use. Also, the bark of the tree can be used to as a decoction for ear infection. So if your hair, is hurting you, then you will drop um, a few drops into your ear to help to unblock. And it can be used also for laxative. But I think the best is after woman has given birth. After woman has given birth, yeah, like the flesh of the fruit, is prepared with other leaf in order, to rub, the warmth of the woman and to help it, like you just give it a proper massage, a warm massage. Um, you should not jump and do a warm massage on your own after giving birth unless you have someone who's experiment, like who have the experience and know what they're doing, so you do not destroy your body after childbirth. Okay, but there's a way of massaging this. I call it omiro, the blend of the flesh and different roots and herbs, and to allow your skin to absorb it within. Okay, and to help the body to get a little firmer and to get back a little bit of energy as well. Release the cramp and etc. So those are my uses for calabash, but that's something that definitely we are losing because we do not have so many of those trees around. At least I'm speaking for locally. Well, locally we don't have that many trees compared to other islands, anyhow. But very often people do not know what they can do with a calabash tree, and if they need the space, to build, or if they need the space to have a greater garden, etc., etc., they chop the tree. But even the calabash tree is part of our Caribbean food medicine. So please bear with us, save the trees. We need them for future generation. Okay,
Definitely.
Baba, what other name do you know for fever grass? 'Cause I don't normally call it fever grass, but
Lemongrass.
exactly,
Right.
I have a friend who is in France now. She's from Jamaica, and she would say, "Okay, Sister Ingrid, make sure you send me some fever grass." And I'll be like, "After all the years living in Saint Martin, you still call that bush fever grass?" Lemongrass, that's the way we call it. But over there, it is called fever grass. Why? Because the obvious. If you use a strong tea of the lemongrass, you can use it to reduce a fever. Okay, so it's not just the flavored cup of tea that we have in the morning, but it also have some medicinal properties. You can also use it to enhance your digestion, to relieve asthma or gas and other stomach ache, etc. Those are the uses I have for the lemongrass. Do you have any?
Well, basically, we use lemongrass here also for fever
Mhm.
mostly. Um, I think of recent with the emergence of the pandemic, This has been one of the major ingredient that has been used in coping with some of the symptoms associated to the current problem that people are having.
that we are facing.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Wow, I people love this bush so much that whenever I plant it outside, I have to be cooping my neighbors to make sure that the neighbors, at least give it a chance to grow, and also my children. But I never realized that people used it also for, to relieve that particular, um, this
Condition.
condition. Thank you. What we try to not name. And yeah, I'm just so jealous of my plan that technically, for me, it's just like for my little private moment, because I feel like we don't have as much as before. Before you would just go out there and pick it up anywhere, but you know,
Yeah, I
now
think also to a lot of people who do a lot of hunting, they use
okay.
the root
Mm.
almost like ginger in seasoning wild meat. It has
Oh,
a ginger-like sort of a taste.
okay, okay. Whenever I have mine catching in a pot, I find myself getting the fever grass or lemongrass all the way from India. Imagine,
Okay.
sometimes I feel very stupid buying it all the way from India, and I'm like, imagine, all the way from India, we got to be sending for those things. But that's what happens when we do not preserve our own. All right. So also this is something that we should all have around the house. If you do not have a yard, this is not something difficult to grow. You should have it in the pot growing, and it always a great point of conversation of exchanging something with your children, and so that they would have something to exchange also as part of the heritage with their children. Another must that the grandmothers always recommend is soursop. Oh my goodness. Almost everything. Drink some soursop. If you have a broken heart and you're crying all the time, they'll tell you drink some soursop. And why would you drink the soursop? Because you have a broken heart. If it is strong enough, it will knock you off to sleep. So technically, you'll stop crying. But then if you don't think
Okay.
about it, you may feel like, the soursop is going to heal your broken heart. It's not really fixing your broken heart, but definitely it will send you to sleep. I have found people who tell me that it does not make them sleep.
Well, I don't know. Most instances, it is known to be used for people with sleep disorder. But
Yeah.
let me allow you to finish on
Well,
what else you have for the
it
food,
is
and then I would.
also okay. For example, when I had my babies, I would always, whenever I remove the mattress from the plastic, I would get the dry leaves, and I would sprinkle it on the mattress, the new mattress, and then wrap it again into something else. Why? Because it is great to kill bed bugs or little insects. So if you have a lot of insect at home, you may want like to burn some of the dry leaves, because I was speaking about that I think last week on the or IFA or ratio way of life. Like sometimes just burning the right leaf is better than spraying any insecticide in the house. All right, so I would put that on the baby's bed to keep the mattress purified at all time. It is also great to wash the hair whenever people have lice. This is one thing
Okay.
I cannot stand. Once I hear speaking about lice, before anything touch me, my entire body is itching me. Then,
Okay.
bathing with the soursop is also great for this. It also used to reduce swelling. So one way the women use it, especially to reduce swelling, is period, so post menstrual cycle. Many women have their uterus kind of still swollen and hanging, especially if the women have eaten a lot of crabs during the cycle. You know that there's this Western mentality that whenever you have your period, it's okay to crave every garbage and eat absolutely everything sweet, soda, biscuit, etc. And what happened is that post cycle, you end up bloated, and you realize sometimes that if you put on 3 kilos during your cycle, post cycle, maybe you lose two, and you have 1 kilo that remains there. And every month you have 1 kilo, dragging 1 extra kilo, or let's say 2 extra pound, cycle upon cycle. And at the end of the year, you have an extra 10 pounds and you don't even know where it come from. And it comes from that. So, one great way of helping women to reduce the womb swelling post cycle is to steam. I'm not going to go into details, but for those who know the practice, you use the bush to steam. So, that's a great relief. Okay, do you have any other in mind? Let me see what I wrote down.
Well, soursop is something commonly used for
Mhm.
the first condition you call for. Any type of sleep disorder is normally recommended by herbalists, right? Other than that, in Trinidad here, we use it for arrhythmia. If you have any type of heart problems,
Okay,
we also use the soursop. We
okay,
use the middle of the fruit, we use the green fruit, and we use the leaves. If
okay,
you're having different forms of cancer, including prostate cancer, we use the soursop.
okay.
All right. When babies have gripes, what we do is we use the bud of the soursop.
Yes.
Yes, and we give the babies that to drink, and it relieves the gripe or discomfort. Whether it's colic or any other form of discomfort in the stomach.
Okay,
Right.
super.
So often these are the traditional uses that I know for the soursop. Heart problems such
Mm-hmm.
as arrhythmia, sleep
Okay.
disorders, and gripe with babies.
Okay, good. There is one that has been spoken about a lot since the beginning of this pandemic, and this is the Guinea hen weed. That's how it is called in Jamaica. We call it arada. Some people also call it duvaneg, and it's also called anamu. And this is great, definitely. We've been using that traditionally to help flu symptom, the cold, any respiratory condition, to reduce fever. Some people also use it to lower blood sugar, although that's maybe not my favorite for this. But if it is, used in conjunction with another herb, you could get also great result from using this particular plant. So it's great, to promote blood cleansing and to help with getting rid of inflammation in the body. Some people don't like it because of the scent. Me, I love it. So I'm collecting it in pots. I just love having it around the place because it is a great bush to have. Definitely, when I was hit with COVID the first time, I drank that every single day. Sorry, I called the name. I catch myself only afterwards.
It's all right. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one also that Caribbean national who live, for example, in Europe or in the state, they always send for this. Okay, and we have different name for it, but this is one that is probably not so well known by the youth, and that we should definitely promote to our children, and let them know how important it is, because this is one that can treat many, many, many things. So if you gotta travel and you can't bring too many herbs with you, this is one you want to have in your bag and travel with.
All right. That plant, the Latin name is the Petaveria Alicia plant.
Yes, it
In
is.
Trinidad, it's called kojo root.
Okay.
It's a very, very, very popular plant
Mhm.
among most of the folks who dwell in the country. This particular plant is a multifaceted plant. It's used for a lot of stuff. You mentioned bed bugs earlier. You mentioned lice.
Yes.
Most pests and parasites that are found around domesticated animals, the dry leaves of the kojo root is used to remove them.
Okay.
Right? Snakes do not like this plant either. So if you
Wow.
grow this around your house, you're not gonna have a lot of snakes coming by. Now, the plant is a very peculiar plant because it's also used for spiritual use also.
I was just going to say so.
Right, but I'm not going to get into that.
Exactly.
I'm just going to
Ex- ex-
mention is used for spiritual use also.
exactly. Those
However,
are for, other
right,
programs. Let's put it
right.
that way.
I'm going to stay on the biological side. This
Definitely.
plant is used by women to induce their menstrual cycle.
Mhm.
The plant is also used as a plant for curettage after you have babies. The plant is also used for pain in the joints of the elderly, for arthritis and rheumatism.
Mhm.
Um, the plant is also used for various forms of venereal diseases because apparently it's a very, very good blood thinner,
Oh, yes.
right? So any of the venereal diseases that produces inflammation in the human system,
Mhm.
that kojo root plant is used to help reduce the level of inflammation in the blood. It is not the top plant for that. There are other plants that I know of that are
Mhm.
by far more effective for the removal of inflammation.
Definitely, but
But
it's
this
also
one
great
is
to
one
get
that
the
is used.
parasite out as well. That's why it has been, of great use over the past 2 years for all of us who went through that particular experience. This was great. I know for a fact that my skin was itching me for weeks, and drinking that was really helping. I didn't have to pass anything on my skin to get rid of the itching, but just drinking that tea often enough during the day was, of great help.
Okay.
Okay. Another one that is maybe not as popular in every part of the Caribbean, but definitely for those who are Indo-Caribbean, especially, is the Karela, which is the bitter gourd, a bitter melon. Yes, because this in Ayurveda has, like, this is one of the plant star fruit that everybody, make sure they add to their diet. So if you go, for example, in an Indian supermarket, you're gonna find it grind in powder, you're gonna find it frozen, you're gonna find it fresh, you're gonna find it cut and dry, in slices, you're gonna find it in every possible form. You might even find it in tea bag as well. Okay, so this one is great to help people to deal with high blood pressure, with constipation, to detoxify the body, to purify the body, to get rid of toxins. What else can we think about? And also for obesity, so when you have a lot of fat in your stomach and so on, you may want to use a lot of the bitter melon before you eat, so it would block the absorption of it would block you from digesting too much fat. Okay, put it that way. And it is great also to use in baths. Okay, for people who have inflammation, different type of inflammation of the skin. People who have high blood sugar as well use that a lot to help to reduce, to reduce the sugar in the blood. It is anti-inflammatory. I think I've said so already. But this is one that in Jamaica they call cerasee. So, sometimes when we hear about the cerasee, we wonder, okay, what other plant is this? And we wonder, and the best thing is that sometimes we hear somebody else from a different nation tell you about a plant. So you want the plant and you're going to order it online. And whenever it reaches there, you realize, oh, snap, we had that right here in the backyard. That's why it's good, to have discussions so we know how we each call the same plants from the region, the same plants in the region.
Well,
So,
definitely. But my only thing with that is that two issues. A lot of times the family of plants are related,
mhm,
but the particular species that you may have may
mhm.
not be exactly the same as what's being used on another island, right? I would
It is
explain
true.
with this particular plant, which is the Mamordica charantia. That's the Latin name for what we call Corylli, right?
So
Or
you have a
Corilla,
different
some
name
people
for
say.
it too. Okay.
Yeah, no, but that is the Latin name because
Okay.
that's where you're going to find throughout. However, there are several different families of the plant. The wild plant
Mm-hmm.
that we know naturally, not the hybrid plant, is wild and it grows all over the place. The fruit is very small.
Mhm.
But then now you have the hybrid plant that produces a very large Karaili fruit. It is
Mhm.
not a natural plant.
Mhm.
So people also use those leaves for medicinal purposes.
Mhm.
And the effects are somewhat different from the
Mhm.
natural wild plant with the very small leaves. So
Mhm.
that is like the first major consideration that one has to look into
Mhm.
before one considers using the plant for medicinal purpose.
True.
Moving away from that now, uses for this plant. Now, most bitter plants have the general property of alkalizing the blood.
Mhm.
So any acid condition at all could be addressed with this Karaili. All right, that's the first thing about it. The second thing that is known about this plant is that it is very anti-parasitic. So most parasites that you find in the human body could be addressed with this plant. This is one of the reasons why it's so popular for bathing, whether it's for babies or adults. Right?
Mhm.
So it would mean therefore, if it is used to address skin disorders, that it works very well on the human liver.
Mhm.
All right. Now, common uses in the Caribbean or in Trinidad. Let me, because I don't want to say Caribbean because I can't speak for the Caribbean. I
Mhm.
can speak about its use in Trinidad. Right? The Karaili plant is generally used as an anti-parasitic. People eat the fruit, particularly the hybrid, the big one. People cut it, they clean it, they soak it to get rid of some of the bitter taste, and then they stew it down, whether curried or whatever. So that is a general meal that is used quite a bit by people who have diabetes as well as high blood pressure. So those are the two most common use. It is also used for specific forms of cancer that are related in particular to hormonal issues.
Yes.
Yeah, because it seems that this particular plant contains some level of female hormones. All right. Now, this is not common knowledge. This is not a easy thing to prove. But through years of application, the elders have expressed to me that
Mhm.
when women having things like menstrual pain and menstrual disorder that is related to their hormones,
Mhm.
that is one of the secret plants that they include in their formulation.
Well, definitely that this is something that is used in many formulation to help women who have who experience growth within the womb. Not the plant by itself, but usually it is part of the formulation for women, for example, who may have different polyps or different type of fibroids, etc., etc. But indeed, it is definitely used a lot, for female hormonal
Disorders.
imbalance and other disorders. Yes.
That's as much as I know. Other than that, that's one of the favorite formulas for babies having heat rash, diaper rash, any rash. As long as something show up on the skin of these
You
babies,
just can't go wrong
you
with
just go
it.
straight out,
Yes,
pick some Karaili, crush it up, make your omiero, leave it out in the midday sun, and then you take the babies out and you bathe them right in that tub. One day
definitely.
after, all the rashes disappear.
It's gone, definitely. You know that there's another one we use also for that, although it is not bitter, and that is the glory cedar. I think one of them days we were speaking about it. That's also one that I love to treat the skin, and it smells heavenly. I really like that scent. I
Okay.
would like to, because the time is running. You said something that was very important this afternoon when very often we have plants that are very similar, but it's not necessarily the same. They all belong to the same family of plant and all may or may not have medicinal use because some of them sometimes actually they are poisonous to the body. And the different medicinal use that we can get out of those plants from the same family are going to be a little different. You may not have exactly the same effect from one plant and the other. And one of those is what is called the leaf of life. There are so many variety of the leaf of life, and very often it is recorded as the Kalanchoe family. Okay, so in this you may have I'm not yet to the point where I'm able to send you the pictures so we could show the pictures while we are discussing, but we'll get there. And so what I call the leaf of life, is this plant. I think some people call it love bush as well, but it's a different variety of it. So you could grow the plant from the leaf. And there are so many of the in one family. At some point, I used to collect almost any of the variety I could find on the island. There is a variety with the little bell, and people also call that loup-garou in Haiti. I don't know why though. It might be because of the spiritual uses of the plant, but whereas we call it leaf of life, okay, in Haiti it is called loup-garou, and for me that's kind of very opposite one to the other. But it's part of the culture. And okay, some people use that for the flu and also to alkalize the body.
Mm-hmm.
All right, me, I like it for alkalizing the body. Also, if you feel like if your body is weak, very weak, you experience different kind of chronic fatigue or other issues like you're fainting a lot. It is something that is actually very interesting to you to help you to get a better control of what you're experiencing.
Yeah, I think we have a question
Oh, sure.
is on the
I-
screen.
Yes, Wonder of the Leaf, Wonder of the World Plan. That is it. Okay,
All
well,
right.
that's one of them. That's what we're talking about. There are so many in that family of plant. There is one that there was a time, as a matter of fact, I was looking for the Wonder of the World plant, and I actually found, a tiny little one. I think I had called you that day to ask you, what is this? It look exactly like what I'm looking for, but it's just a tiny one, and it's also known as alligator leaf.
Okay.
Okay, and the alligator leaf is also used for different medicinal purposes. Okay, it is
All right.
also called leaf of life, tree of life, zebmaltet for migraines, and I'm trying to think about other names though. There is a particular variety that is called mala madre as bad mother.
Okay.
But it seems that, everywhere in the Caribbean, we may carry a different name for this particular plants or family of plants. But definitely, we can see that overall, it is part of the tradition. In every island, we have different use for it and also different name, but different variety as well.
All right. In Trinidad, we call it Wonder of the World.
Okay.
And yes, we have quite a few varieties of this plant. The one that you described that has all the young suckers around the edge, we have that one. We
Mhm.
have one with a very large folding leaf. I think they call that donkey ears or some kind of thing like that,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
And we have the regular variety. Even the regular variety, there are some with dark stems, there are some with red stems, quite
Mhm.
a few variations. The plant, however, is very commonly used. I think the most known use or the most common use for the plant is to remove kidney stones.
Okay.
That's one. It's also used for Eric,
Mhm.
right? It's used for colds, right?
Cool. Okay.
Right. And I can remember as a very young man spending a lot of time playing soccer and always coming home with an injury. And one time I had one of my shins damaged
Oh wow.
and it was swollen for days. And I'm limping, going to school, limping, coming back home. So my mother saw me. She says, what happened to you, boy? I said, well, I get a little kick on my foot here. So she said, all right, raise your pants up, let me see. And she squeezed it. She said, She said, you need not to go and play no ball for the next few days. I said, Mama, how you? She said, but look, you're limping, you can hardly walk. So she says to me, go and lie down, go and lie down on the couch.
Okay.
So sure enough, I go and lay down on the couch. So she comes with soft candle, matches, and
Oh, the
this
second
big,
one.
yeah, and a big thick leaf, which
Mm-hmm.
at the time I didn't know it was one that will.
Mm-hmm.
So she put the soft candle on the leaf and then she lit the match, turned the leaf upside down where the soft candle was, and she passed the lighted match below the leaf and she
Mm-hmm.
stuck it onto my shin.
Wow.
She did that for 3 days. The bruise from top to bottom
Mm-hmm.
remained swollen for the 3 days. But on the third day, the entire thing turned yellow.
Oh, wow. All the
So like
inflammation came
all
out.
the blood, all the clot blood that was inside of it
Mm-hmm.
turned yellow.
Wow.
And a little hole emerged right below the leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And on that night, all of the inflammation
Came out.
came out through that hole. I just feel this warm thing running down my calves. And
Oh,
when
wow.
I get up and I look at it,
Mm-hmm.
all the inflammation poured out.
That is so good. So
Yeah,
good.
so Wonder of the World really works wonders. That has been my experience. And beside that too, it is also a traditional Yoruba plant that is also used for spiritual uses also, which we're not also going to discuss today.
Exactly. Well, it is used to treat swelling, abscesses. It is
Yes,
also like people who have any bronchial condition like asthma, anything in terms of know respiratory blockages. Let's put it like that. And if it falls in the right here, we know how to use it in the current condition that we are facing. This
yes,
is a plant that really help people to breathe properly whenever you use it. So people use it sometimes not so much as a tea. It is very often crushed.
yes,
Maybe you drink it as a juice, you blend it, drink it as a juice, but not so much, as a tea. Or I know that other people also create some elixirs like extract
okay.
with liquor. It is great to use also for bladder stone, urinary bladder stone. People probably who are bleeding excessively. So women, let's talk about it, but not just women, because if you have internal injury after an accident and you're bleeding profusely, in traditionally we've been using that also in the Caribbean to help really stop excessive bleeding. It's used also for kidney failure. It's used as poultice. So you can put it
Mhm.
underneath your feet if you're experiencing hemorrhage, for example. What else did we have? It's good for to purify the blood as a juice, so not as a tea. So for those people, for example, who drink smoothies, you just add it to your smoothies. It's great for constipation. If you have a cold, you can crush it and put it on your chest as well. So it has many, many, many uses in our traditional folklore. People probably will need to have a diuretic. So let's say like when people urinate and they feel this stinging, you add it also to your drinks so that you could promote you would like how to say that you would heal your whole urinary tract by drinking it. We spoke about the cold, right?
Yeah, that's the first thing that you mentioned.
Yeah, I think you spoke about the airplane as well.
Yeah, for Eric, yes.
Okay. Now, what is funny is that in all the different uses that I listed, in some island it is used to cure diarrhea, whereas in other island it is used for constipation. And this is where sometimes you how one plant used for constipation and one plant used for diarrhea. The answer is that it's the family of plant. So whereas one variety might work for diarrhea, another variety is going to work for constipation.
Yeah, but to just build on what you're saying right there, right?
Mhm.
I could remember one time preparing a medicine, and the effect that the desired effect that I wanted, it actually had the opposite effect on the person,
Ah,
right? So it is the exact thing we discussing here,
mm-hmm,
right? The person needed to have evacuations, and it
mm-hmm.
worked quite the opposite way. But what I discovered is two things about that: the soil,
Okay,
the soil that the plant grows in, a lot of times give that particular plant some slightly different chemical properties.
true.
So there's one of the reasons why too you may have the same Karaili
Mm-hmm,
growing on your island and the same Karaili growing on my island, but depending on the soil composition,
mm-hmm,
the mineral balance in the plant might be slightly off.
true.
All right. Another important thing that the elders used to speak about is when you harvesting the plant and how you harvest the plant.
Definitely.
You
Like you
know,
see,
that can
today I
alter the
need some.
property.
I totally agree. I need some mango leaf so bad today, but I was running up and down, and many times I felt tempted to call others and tell them, "Please get me some mango leaf." But I was like, the way they might just go and knock down that tree, this is not the way I need it. So therefore, I'm gonna be delayed, and I'm gonna wait tomorrow when I have time to go and harvest my leaves. To choose which part of the tree I want my leaf from, because it's the way you harvest it has a lot to do with the result you're gonna get from your plant.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
I love what you said about the soil, because if you don't treat your soil properly, there are some people who just pack and pick up any bush by the roadside where everybody just throw the garbage. People stand up randomly and urinate. Dogs and cats pass and defecate, and you just see the bush. Oh, this is the bush, and you can take it and use it. Hey, this cannot be healthy. It's like
No,
where
no.
you get the bush from is very, very, very important as well. I Having a grandmother in Guadeloupe, for example. Over there, the people, they've been demonstrating a lot against the use of chlordicon, which is a pesticide that was used up to 30 years ago. And whereas in the French government, they knew that this was something that was highly cancerous. However, they voted some law whereas it was mandatory to use it for anybody who wanted to sell with a business license. So everybody who was in agriculture, they had to use a certain amount of pesticide to ensure, that they were meeting the norms. And in so doing, so whether it was in Martinique and Guadeloupe, the land became infested with this. So when you see, like, even 30 years later, you find that in those islands, people suffer a lot of health condition that on other parts of the French Republic, people don't really
All
experience.
right, then I want to believe here that that may have been one of those pesticides that contains something called DDT that remains in the land on the
Yes,
soil for a
yes, yes.
very long time.
For a very long time, and even in the river and everything. So it's like you would go and get fish, and like for the people who eat crayfish and those stuff from the river, all of the everything technically would be marked.
Contaminated.
So yes, you will be drinking spring water and you would think you're drinking something healthy, but it remains contaminated. And it's not just staying in the land for a long time, it is staying in your tissues for a very long time as well. So that's why, like, I felt like it was important also that we say that where you get your food from is very, very important. And also it forces me to say that sometimes when you run and get a so-called natural supplement that is very, very cheap, you need to ask yourself, where does it come from exactly? Why is it that cheap? You know that if you boost the plant with the right, chemicals, and you put the right pesticide around it, you are able to produce more. And you don't respect normally the cycle of the plant neither. So if the plant probably need 3 lunar cycle to be ready, maybe in less than 1 lunar cycle, you have how much ready to harvest. That can't give you any healing neither. You'll be buying the plant for real, but it can't produce, like, because it has not been able to grow through the full cycle. So it is very important when we decide to use plants to empower our lifestyle, to live longer, to live a better life, to get it from the right source. And then once again, it is good to start with what we have closer to home.
Definitely so.
Mhm. Well, that's the end of the presentation for me on my side for this afternoon. This evening, the sun is already setting on my side of the Caribbean. And for next week, we're looking forward to have a guest. I will post over the week to make sure we have it confirmed, and we also have one lineup for the other week as well. I'm still trying to get, a French speaker to come on board with us, and well, one who speak French and English at least. But I'm positive that it will come.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, that would be wonderful. But at the same time, I mean, I'm not a French speaker. I mean, I know how
Well,
to say
that's why I'm
bonjour,
looking
I
at
know how to
one in
say these things,
particular.
but that's about it.
Listen to
Other,
me.
other than that, I've heard people speak Creole. I might be able to pick up a few words, but that's about it.
Why not? Why not? Why not? I found myself after the presentation that we did last week. I was randomly invited last minute to do a presentation on somebody's Instagram page, an institute in France. And I was like, okay, it's not like I can speak French, but usually I don't present in French.
Okay.
Well, there were times when I instinctively switched back to English. And I would realize that I was speaking English when I would hear the host translating in French. I'd be like, oh, sorry, get back into. So it's all right, and it did not disturb your viewers. So I'm really looking forward to have a particular lady, and she's sufficiently fluent, so it should be a very interesting moment.
Well, I mean, we still do have a few Creole speakers on the island, many
Okay.
elders, and we have one or two young people in certain districts who
Mhm.
have maintained the tradition. But the vast majority of us, we only know a few words. My grandmother was fluent in this business. My mother
Okay.
spoke a little bit of it, and I
Mhm.
even less. You know what I mean? But at the same time, we still all one region, and hopefully one day we would
Mhm.
reinstate that tradition where we are
Of
able to
speaking
speak our
Creole.
own dialect. You
Definitely,
know, but
definitely.
until then, we would just have to do it this way. We just have to use the language of our colonizers. Right? But with that,
That's the way you say.
we would
Okay.
like to say Odabo to all the
Double.
viewers. Thank you for viewing, and we would see you next week.
Okay, double.
Odabo.